She cheated on me, or if I refused to reconstruct the marriage. She refused to discuss it. I don't want her ex-partner to start a new relationship with her 6 months from now, or to find someone else she likes and scare me with divorce again if I don't reopen the marriage. I will not exploit her financially. I wanted to observe how she would react when I asked her to promise not to ask that question again. Her statement showed that she would not invest. I met Amber through her band dad. Our girls are only close in the band. My wife doesn't like band, therefore she didn't play. She decided to help with the concert while under quarantine. Should I have said you couldn't because my outside partner is a band mom and I don't want you in that circle? She wasn't my wife's friend. My wife joined the band in May, a year after I put Amber up. Further inquiry revealed that my wife's unexpected choice to join the band was driven by a distinct purpose. Amber and I started dating in May 2019. He's her boyfriend since December 2018. One more recap update. When my wife said she was ready to divorce, I agreed that she wanted an open marriage. She wanted an open marriage. But I didn't. Within 24 hours, she had an outside partner. A few months passed before it arrived. Her romance terminated. To get me to break up, she followed me and introduced herself to my boyfriend. She sought marital annulment after it failed. She refused my restrictions. The last month is approaching. This month was tough. After learning about stalking, I confronted my wife. After I mentioned her location history, she denied it again. I refused her bait, even though she claimed I had invaded her privacy. After a long time, she disclosed that she didn't like that I had someone on my side and that a school mother felt like she was too close to home. I promised Amber that I would quit our connection if she attended counseling, permanently ended the marriage, and started looking for a job to help with household expenses. It was her response that she is a stay-at-home mother. We could debate it when the coronavirus passed, but she couldn't remain home once things returned to normal. The first several treatment sessions went well. The therapist asked her why she followed me, why she thought she needed to leave the marriage, and almost everything on my mind. It got worse. Her outside partner was her high school boyfriend. Before anything happened, they split up and rejoined. She wanted to achieve that objective because she regretted not being with him in high school. That infuriated me. Like my choice of a mother from school being too close to home, I advised her that her choice of a married ex-boyfriend was inappropriate. I refused to look at her. To recover, I checked into a hotel to avoid my children seeing me in such a situation. After a few days, I decided to go home and resolve my marriage troubles. I found my daughter acting very cold toward me when I got home. The 14-year-old girl looked dismissive of the issue. I asked her what was going on, and she accused me of cheating on my mother with a forbidden mother. I wondered where she heard this. She initially refused to tell me, saying it was irrelevant, but she eventually admitted that her mother had told her that I had been staying with my girlfriend after I left. I mentally counted to 10, told her that was not true, showed her the hotel voucher on my phone, and told her that her mother and I had a fight and took some time off to heal. She cried a lot, and I told her I loved her forever. Despite being hungry, I tried to stay calm. Still, I didn't visit my wife. Facebook helped me find the man's wife. I wrote her that her husband had been having an affair with my wife for a year and a half, and that I would be happy to give her with any evidence. Though grateful, she suspected something was wrong. A few hours later, my wife yelled at me that I had breached our therapy session's confidentiality and harmed the person. What was her goal in telling our daughter I was seeing another woman? I questioned her, even while she denies it. She refuses to admit she told her anything other than I was gone for a few days. Thursday last week, something happened. We haven't spoken since. We have another therapy appointment the next day, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. The more lies she speaks, the more I understand I can never trust her again. I catch her lying often. Despite knowing that divorce is the best option, I feel nauseous thinking about it. I feel like a failure because my marriage failed. Every time I phone an attorney, I feel sick. I know it'll end up there, but I don't know how to manage it. Thanks for updating, Chatalock Don. I am sad to hear that therapy is simply revealing more. And it is clear that your faith in your wife has been damaged by her continual falsehoods. I hope your wife didn't tell your daughter, but when people are falling fast, they'll clutch to anything to stay afloat, and turning the kids against you isn't innovative. I hope your wife didn't tell your daughter. Although your marriage ended, you are not a failure. Contacting that attorney, however difficult, is probably the wisest line of action at this stage. Do it for you. Do it for your kids. Do it for your wife if you want her to reach her lowest point without ruining your lives. Hope you do well, man. Talk to a lawyer about your resource status. If you're honest, your wife started the relationship after cheating or about to cheat. Later, when things went wrong, she didn't want you to enjoy yourself when she wasn't. She donates nothing to the home and has no plans. She lies constantly. What makes you think anything could fix this? Trusting someone who reveals themselves is crucial. She gets her way, or the highway. As suggested, seek a lawyer. Get your finances in line and leave this bad relationship. Lisa, you completely succeeded. Your spouse intended to cheat, but didn't want to call it that. She never wanted to and expected you to. She threatened to divorce you if you didn't agree, which is serious manipulation. Finally, her attempt to ruin your relationship with your daughter was the final straw. The situation is unsolvable, in my opinion. None of this should make you too hard on yourself. Your wife has been going off the rails, and you've been holding on for dear life, but maybe you should let go. Additionally, I would be upfront with your daughter about the procedure. All of this information will become public, and the truth is better than gossip and lies. Move on to the next story. Second tale. My true father finally appeared after 30 years. After becoming close on his yacht, I found he was cheating on me with my girlfriend over a family dinner. He got her pregnant while married. After nearly 4 years, my girlfriend and I broke up. We met casually through mutual acquaintances when they invited us to a Halloween haunted house. We were alone for a while. She and I left the group to attend the attraction's beer garden. We discussed everything during our time together. After the night, we exchanged numbers and started dating. She moved in with me a year and a half after we started dating. Growing up, I never met my father. Many times in my life, I wanted to know who he was. As a child, I was told he and my mother dated when she became pregnant. The story I was told: she had no choice but to carry the pregnancy because she is Catholic. No, he wanted that. After his efforts to get my mother to have an abortion, she told him she didn't want to see him again. I told her we may end the marriage if we met 2 requirements. I posted the first. Second, I wanted her to sign a paper exempting her from spousal support if we divorced. Completely lost her temper. She flatly rejected such idea. As a psalm, my wife has not worked since we married. She said I could visit Amber and leave her with nothing if she signed the document. I told her that I would add a list of circumstances we had mutually agreed upon, including my infidelity, to nullify the agreement. It appears to be undisputed. That she won't be cheated on and left with nothing when I leave her for Amber, and that she won't keep being disappointed. I stated that when I wanted to start a family. That was her cherry on top, and she now tells me everything. After receiving his name from her, I tried to contact him. Despite my fears, he agreed to meet me. Our lunch was planned, so I invited my girlfriend. Looking at him for the first time was weird because I realized how much I resembled him. In the aftermath, I was overwhelmed with emotion and unsure how to handle it. My girlfriend comforted me through everything. A week after our lunch date, my biological father asked if I wanted to see him again. He seemed to be feeling bad after our first meeting and wanted to get to know me better. One of my girlfriends suggested I try. Since I struggled to finish the chore alone, I invited her to help. Our 3-person fishing trip on his boat was great. We spoke over beers. I learned everything about his family. He married and has 3 younger children. He said he wasn't ready to be a father when my mother was pregnant. He and my girlfriend exchanged numbers before leaving for the day. We did this so we could meet his family. I wanted to meet my half-siblings, and my fiancée organized it. We kept in touch often despite it being weeks since I last saw him. My girlfriend told me they were planning a dinner at my father's house at the end of the month. When I was working in construction, I dropped my phone on concrete while 50 feet up. Upon closer inspection, it was completely destroyed. Due to the glass, touching the screen was nearly difficult. I switched phones as soon as I could and transferred everything. Moving the SIM card sped up the change. I had to re-add certain contacts to the phone because they weren't saved to the SIM card. My biological father was among them. I found my girlfriend sleeping on the couch when I got home later that day. I needed my father's number to tell him I got a new phone if you needed to reach me. Since I knew my girlfriend's phone password and had used it many times, I didn't think much when I grabbed it to send the contact information to myself. I noticed their long call history when I clicked on his name and the contacts listing. Since she had never told me they were conversing on the phone, it caught my interest. After entering the other room, I checked the call and message logs to grasp the situation. When we got on the boat together, they started texting us. A few hours after exchanging numbers, my father texted my girlfriend. He wrote that I was lucky to have her. It started nicely, and she thanked him, saying she was lucky to have me. My father started flirting with her. He told her she was beautiful, and that he might intercede if I mistreated her. I was surprised to see him as I knew he was married and had kids. My girlfriend told him she would be happy to let him take over if needed. From then on, texts were highly evocative. The 2 of them were always sneaking around and publicly wanting sexual interactions. Before my father texted my girlfriend a photo of himself, they seemed flirtatious. Although the situation was obvious, it didn't look like anything else. He then told her that a new Instagram photo had turned him on. A naked photo was shown. After expressing her happiness, my girlfriend sent him more photos of herself. They exchanged many photos, audio, and video recordings. I clicked on one of my father's flicks to see him describe all the evil things he planned to do to her once they were together. I heard kids racing outside his room. The messages showed that they had not yet met for sexual activity. They planned to sneak to his yacht while everyone else was in his house if they succeeded. I handed her phone back and said I hadn't seen anything before my girlfriend woke up. I suffered greatly from everything. My father knew about me my whole life. Yet he ignored me. He fooled me again by making sexual approaches toward my partner after I finally had a chance to talk to him. My girlfriend had sexual intercourse with him since she knew I needed to meet him. I felt deeply betrayed by both. I immediately knew I intended to punish them for their choices. Since the dinner was a week away, I determined to ignore my worry and act normally until then. I managed to stay calm at supper without becoming furious and attacking my father. I felt bad for my stepmother because of what transpired during our time together. If he had messaged my girlfriend after only knowing her for a short time, I wouldn't have been surprised to hear he had previous misdeeds. After dining, we decided to watch a movie together. Besides wanting to finish some things on the boat, my father said he wasn't interested in watching the movie. His public withdrawal from the picture was unquestioned. My girlfriend said she got a call 15 minutes into the movie. Her phone did not ring or light up, and I did not see it. She planned to slip out and meet my father. After 3 minutes, I told my stepmother that it was weird that she had been missing for so long. Since the kids were asleep on the couch, I was relieved I wouldn't wake them up. I was glad I wouldn't wake them. After I told her I was going to check on my partner, she stopped the movie to give me time. I knew I wouldn't see her on the porch. However, I returned inside and told her she had departed. Still, I stared at her. We searched for her outdoors because she was worried. She suggested we ask my father whether he saw her. So I went with her to the boat, where we knew he was working on that project. We heard unmistakable sexual activity as soon as we opened the lower-level door. Sound stopped when she shouted my father's name. After a minute, he approached the bedroom door and asked about her needs, as if she were bothering him. He said he was rearranging his furniture when asked about his activities. The need to laugh was great. He tried to dismiss my inquiries about if my girlfriend was with him. I passed him and unlocked the door, where I saw her trying to dress stealthily. A conflict between everyone arose throughout the event. I had a nagging suspicion we would find out what happened, but my reaction was natural. I showed others my hurt and fury. I had practically meant for us to see what we did, but nobody knew. After my stepmother evicted my father the night before, I went to her house to retrieve my possessions and escape. My girlfriend and I couldn't be together after what happened. I left the apartment permanently a few weeks after moving in. After learning my father was seeking for a place to crash, my girlfriend invited him. My girlfriend got pregnant after a few months of dating. My father seemed to have a pattern for handling problems. He told his wife he had children while trying to. Jealous wife has lied to our daughter, cheated on me with my ex-boyfriend, hounded me after I found someone else, and wants to divorce. She has pursued open marriages before. My wife is 37, and I'm 39. My wife and I married 45 years ago. We live with a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old boy. 1.5 years ago, my wife proposed an open marriage. She said she was bored with simply us and wanted other adventures. I strongly opposed since I believe marriage is a partnership between two people. Before we married, I had 5 sexual partners and my wife had only been with me. She made it clear she would file for divorce if we didn't open things up. Sexual contact with someone who had such a rocky relationship with her boyfriend and thought she lacked compassion. After everything happened, many stopped talking to her. She had a child with my father, but he was not involved. After his divorce, my father had to pay her alimony and child support from his income. He also paid child support. A DNA test proved he was the biological father of my ex-girlfriend's child, therefore he had to pay child support. He probably meant any of his paychecks. It was something neither of us wanted, so I agreed under certain conditions. Nobody returned to the farmhouse. We don't mention partners because the kids, family, and partners aren't aware. All have been tested. We don't know anyone, etc. My wife went out and didn't return until 4 in the morning, 24 hours after we intended to do something, confirming my suspicion that she was thinking about someone. I struggled to accept it. Despite my dissatisfaction, I tried to save my marriage. Amber and I met last May. The marching band includes our girls. Amber, a longtime divorcee, no longer wants to marry. She has needs like everyone else. In other words, I had sexual intercourse with Amber 5 months after our divorce. It seemed like cheating at first, but it's fantastic to have something without circumstances that neither of us wants to continue forward with. After some time, I felt more confident that my wife and I could meet our needs within and outside of our marriage. We were happier and more passionate in our sexual lives. My wife and her side partner, whom I had never met, stopped seeing each other in April due to the coronavirus. According to my research, his wife is unaware of his open marriage, and he struggled to leave. My wife met Amber at the Zoom concert we organized for the band kids in May. Show was a hit. Amber may have been honest with some mothers because my wife discovered she was my lover outside of the relationship. Was born and raised by her as a single mother for 12 years. My mother had more children with my stepfather after my birth. No matter how many times I asked, she never revealed my father's identity. I accepted that I would never know the truth. My boyfriend convinced me to try again and find out. My family lost someone. Cancer killed one of my cousins. Because of it, I wondered what other illnesses my family members might have. My girlfriend and I asked my mother to tell me who my father was. I needed to know whether my blood had any severe prior illnesses. I also told her. I was told by my wife to end my relationship with Amber because we know her. I declined, arguing that neither of us knew her and that the meeting did not violate our norms. Over the past month, she has repeatedly told me she is uncomfortable with my sexual connections with Amber and that I must end them. Remember that she did well with her person for a year. Over the weekend, she asked me to reconcile our marriage. I told her I would consider it if we both agreed to keep it closed. She said she wants this too, doesn't need other partners, and is happy with me. I had proposed this, and that I had only agreed to it to save our marriage. She thinks the marriage is over if we don't consummate it. I told her I won't tolerate her being threatened with divorce every time she doesn't meet my standards. I need to focus on the two of us, she says, being theatrical. Should I agree without conditions? I know I'm keeping my ground, but I feel like I'm blowing apart my marriage over a corpse. I don't think it's about Amber, though. Amber and I have agreed that it's just physical interactions, hence there's no future. I called Amber this morning to remind her that we had to keep things discreet and inquire who she told about our liaison. This first update is based on your comments. I didn't think she lied when she denied telling anyone. I saw on my wife's Google timeline that she followed me to Amber's house in April. After following me, she purposely confronted Amber to cause tension. I thought she wanted to be a band mom, but she didn't. She simply wanted to stop things with my outside partner. I have no idea what to do with this. Al's words are frosty. Your wife probably dumped you because she doesn't want to stay together. Exactly what I was thinking. I promise not to hurt her financially. She may be so confident in us that she's ready to stop. What about a year or two from now, when she wants someone else and opens things up again? How about that? I will not be threatened with divorce if she wants it both ways. His name is John Miller. Already, your marriage ended. All the best. Oh, I'm realizing that about myself. I hate that she's not the woman I married. Lady Meg Pye, his wife, is unaware of his open marriage. Thus, Hess is cheating on his wife. It's correct. It appears my wife thought it was open since he told her. He was secretly playing with his wife. Determine if his wife wanted to divorce. Also, if the divorce will proceed. I see. My first inquiry was whether she would agree to keep it closed. I asked if she would forgo spousal support if we divorced. I then asked if she would waive it if reconcile. He could not do that with another child. He denied this and tried to get her to have an abortion. She didn't plan that. To warn my stepmother that he would lie to her, I told her immediately. I did this after discovering what happened. She thanked me for the information and said she would be far from my father. All of my girlfriend's friends were appalled by her actions. They couldn't understand how she could have a